Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. My name's Jon Zaghloul. Great to have you here on Channel 59.3 in Roku. Big day. It's a celebration. Nick Foles is no longer a Chicago Bear. We're going to break it all down, talk about what it means for them moving forward in just a second. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. You can watch more of this show. Search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. You can watch more shows from the VPOD TV network. Search up VPOD TV on YouTube. I want to start today with this. Eventually, if you don't live up to your expectations at your job, if you don't get your work done, you're going to be fired. Pretty common sense, but sometimes it needs to be refreshed for people like Nick Foles and the Bears. If you're traded for, signed, paid to do a job and you can't get it done, you deserve to be fired or terminated or released, whatever it might be. You do not deserve to be on the Chicago Bears if they traded for you, paid your salary, and you did not perform. You have to go. And I have to say, I could not be more thrilled to announce that Nick Foles is off the Chicago Bears. It's over. Everybody rejoice. It's over. No more 2020. No more listening to Nick Foles complain about why he isn't playing, why he's the third string. It's over. He's gone. Goodbye. I tweeted out that this was by far the best move of the weekend for Ryan Foles, better than any draft pick he made. Yes, it was. No question. We don't need to deal with the drama from Nick Foles anymore. We don't need to deal with his poor performances and complaints about why he isn't playing enough. But most importantly, we don't need to deal with the Mitch Trubisky Nick Foles controversy. My good friend Mike North, who's on this program many a time, is tweeting out articles from journalists, from Bears beat reporters, who reported back in 2020 that this was a great trade. Nick Foles would bring something of significance to the Bears. Not so fast. Matt Nagy made the biggest mistake and pretty much put his coaching career down the toilet by taking out Mitch Trubisky week 3 and putting in Nick Foles and assuming he'd just be 10 times better. Nick Foles did nothing of significance here in Chicago. He did nothing for the Bears organization. He did not advance them or help them in any which way. He only set them back. He costed money and he costed draft picks for this team. And I could not be happier that he's off the team. Foles was due a base salary of $4 million this season. The Bears will save $8 million against their salary cap with this move, but it does come with a $7.66 million dead cap hit. The Bears have $54 million in dead cap now for this season. Yikes, but worth it. This one was worth it. Khalil Mack was a bit of a worry because a lot of this dead cap space is from Mack. $26 million in dead cap space is much different than $7.66. This was a no-brainer decision. And I just couldn't be happier that Nick Foles is gone. I've been talking about this for 2 years now. Get rid of Nick Foles. You guys know about one-hit wonders, right? See them in music or acting, TV, movies. There's an actor or a singer who gets hot after one hit and rides that thing out for the rest of their career. And they might not ever reproduce anything of significance, but it doesn't matter. They ride out the one hit. Nick Foles is a one-hit wonder in the NFL. He has continued to ride out his Super Bowl win in Philadelphia, one 6-game stretch, as a justification for him staying in the NFL. I think it's a travesty. It's a one-hit wonder. Did it once, can't do it again anywhere else. That's a little bit weird. It's a little bit strange that he can't find success anywhere else he goes, especially here in Chicago. I don't know what Ryan Pace was thinking when he made this move. I don't know what kind of benefit he thought it would serve. But the answer was absolutely nothing, a big zero. It made no sense then, and it still makes no sense today. If you don't remember, I'll refresh you about the context. The Bears needed a quarterback because Mitch Trubisky wasn't getting it done, so they traded for Nick Foles, a guy who the year before lost the starting job to Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville. Not because he was hurt, because he came back from his injury, then effectively lost the job fair and square. Did not play well enough. And Doug Marrone said, you know what, Gardner, you're in. Nick, sit on the bench. But the Bears thought this would be a great guy to come in and start for us. How does Ryan Pace still have a job in the NFL? Beats me. So I've given you two different references now of Nick Foles' situation and the real world. Two. Nick Foles is the guy you hire. Great interviewer. Good interview. Won the interview. You hire him. And just completely stinks it up at the office. Stuff's not getting done on time. Causing so many problems. Intra-office conflicts. And eventually you're like, Nick, what's the problem here? You gotta go. You're not helping us in any which way. And he's also the one-hit wonder. One-hit song, one-hit movie, one-hit TV show. And all of a sudden, he's going to ride that out for the rest of his career. Nick Foles should not be in the NFL anymore, period. Unless he wants to be a coach or maybe a third-string backup somewhere else and never play and mentor a young quarterback. That's the only use I could see Nick Foles being in the NFL today. One-hit wonder, 6 good games, and he's using that to stay in the NFL now. And for some reason, the Bears were stupid enough to buy it, to buy the crap that he was selling, and bring him in. For 2 years, I've been calling for this. And some people actually thought he'd be a viable option here. Chiefly Ryan Pace, but even media members do. Wrong. This guy sucks. We all knew it. Look, when you're replaced for Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville, and that's a team that has no future, no direction, nothing. When you can't even catch on and latch on in Jacksonville, that's a sign that your career is quite over. When you can't latch on in Jacksonville, probably time to hang it up, right? And yet somehow, some way, he actually gets himself to a great organization. He goes from Jacksonville to the Bears and somehow fleeced everybody. He's the winner. You know, Jacksonville did not win that trade. The Bears didn't either. Nick Foles won it himself. Still got paid everything. The Bears gave up late round draft picks, which the Jaguars obviously did not use to their benefit. At the end of the day, he complained, got a chance to start, sucked, still complained, and made money. He's the winner. And the Bears are the biggest losers for this. I'm so happy, though, Ryan Foles cut the cord. This was a great job by Ryan Foles. Best move of the entire draft weekend, by far. Nothing beats this. I'll tell you that right now. Nothing. Nothing you could tell me is more significant than this move, because here's why. Chemistry. And media narratives. Maybe the Bears drafted good players, and we'll find out soon enough. But now we don't have to deal with the consistent attention to a third-string quarterback who doesn't deserve a lick of attention. No more dealing with it, no more worrying about it, no more debating 2020 anymore, Manchin, Nick, or even coming up this year, oh, where's Nick Foles going to be in the depth chart? It's over. It's done. Trevor Siemian is the best backup money could buy in the NFL at this point. The Bears have him. They've locked him in. And Justin Fields is obviously the number one starting quarterback. Great job, Ryan Foles. It's over. It's all over. This is similar to the day Mitch Trubisky signed in Pittsburgh. Same sort of happiness I got in my heart. No more having to deal with this BS. No more. It's over. I don't want to hear Nick Foles' name again. Not once. I hope, actually, this is a wake-up call for him, and he decides to call it quits. I know his agent said, this was a great job by the Bears, so classy. It allows Nick to weigh his options and look at his options. Here's my question. What options does he really have? I mean, that's agent speak, I know, but let's be real here. What options does Nick Foles have right now? Maybe a backup role, I could see that, but certainly not going to start anywhere. Look, the one veteran quarterback right now getting a lot of buzz is Baker Mayfield, and I'll tell you this much. I don't care what your feelings are on him. I would rather have Baker Mayfield 100 out of 100 times than Nick Foles. Nick Foles will have no place to be starting-wise come next season. He's going to have to back up somewhere. And I wish him the best. I really do. I hope he does well. But I can't forget what he did to the Bears organization. And what Ryan Pace did, too. This was Ryan Pace's move, and Ryan Pace's call, and Matt Nagy, another great quarterback evaluator, huh? Still wondering why he has a job. So he thought, and Pace thought, this would be a better option than Mitch Trubisky for this team. Interesting. And not just that, but let's keep him around and help out Justin Fields. Didn't work either. Talk about ridiculous. Talk about not knowing the game. Look, I don't have inside access. I'm 22. Maybe I don't know a lot about football, but I knew this one. Come on, everybody knew this one. This was not going to be a happy ending for the Bears and for Nick Foles. Whatever possessed them to make this move will always be a mystery to me. How could you be a legitimate football evaluator, somebody who's been in the game, a former scout like Ryan Pace, and say, you know what, this is a guy we need? What makes him attractive to any team? It'd be different if he's coming off a career year. He was coming off an injury year, and then when he came back, he actually legitimately lost his job to Gardner Minshew. What made you think, you know what, attractive player, good player, let's bring him in? Oh yeah, he'll compete with Mitch Trubisky, all right. Inexplicable. This whole move was inexplicable. I just couldn't be happier that he's gone. He's your one-hit wonder. He's the good interviewer, but he ends up getting fired pretty soon because he's only a good interviewer. Can't perform. He's everything you want him to be. But you know what he's not? A good NFL quarterback. He's every simile, metaphor, comparison, analogy you could think of. That's what he is. But you know what he's not? A competent NFL quarterback. He's a backup at best, and if not, really, a third string. The Bears did a good job this past year. If there's one thing I could give Matt Nagy credit for, is that Nick Foles, deservedly so, was the number 3 this past season for the Bears. And now he's off the team. And I will gladly absorb a $7.66 million dead cap hit if it means he is gone. And there's no more distractions. There's no more debates. There's no more hearing Nick Foles saying, I want to be traded to where I want to go. What the hell do the Bears owe you? They owe you nothing. You have not performed. It'd be different if the Bears sucked, Foles was killing it, and he said, you know what, give me a trade. I demand a trade. Fine, go. Where do you want to go? This was the complete opposite. Foles did nothing for this team, cost them money, cost them draft picks, cost them tons of negative press in 2020. And at the end of the day, did nothing to help them. No benefits. And yet he thinks he's big enough to demand a trade where he wants to go. I just couldn't be more happier. This whole saga is over. And I will continue to follow his career and we'll report it here. If he goes somewhere, if he starts somewhere, or if he retires, I'll celebrate even more at that point. This was a great move by Ryan Foles. I don't care what anybody says. This was the best move of the weekend by Ryan Foles, too. It really was. I'm not just making a joke or being funny. I'm being serious here. This was the best move Ryan Foles made all weekend. Obviously, he tried to find a trade partner. for the draft. Didn't work. Nobody wanted him. That goes to show you something, right? Ryan Poles looked for a trade partner for Nick Foles. Maybe you could flip him for a 7th-round pick in this draft. Nobody even wanted him. Nobody even wanted to waste their time looking at Nick Foles, let alone actually making an offer and trading him. Once again, another folly of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. How do you make so many mistakes and still stay in the NFL and have a job? Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. How is that possible? How do you make so many mistakes on talent evaluation? And yet, Poles is still in the front office in Atlanta, and Matt Nagy's the assistant now, the senior offensive assistant in KC. How do you people have jobs after what you've done? How can you sit there with a straight face and say, you know what? I know the replacement for Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles. I laugh just thinking about it. How could you actually be serious about that? How can you call yourself a serious football evaluator, football guy? And yet you come up with this monstrosity of an idea. I would love to know, maybe 50 years from now, what the thought process was in acquiring Nick Foles. I hope somebody, please, comes out with some inside story or article. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are going, just come out and say, what the hell happened here? How'd the Bears even do this? Why'd they do it? I need to know. I have an appetite for knowing this. I would love to know what happened. How could you justify this? How could you say with a straight face, yes, let's do it. Great move. The Jaguars were probably so happy, I can only imagine them probably sitting around laughing that they actually traded Nick Foles for draft picks to the Bears. And oh yeah, the Bears picked up his salary too. Actually paid him money to sit on the bench, then to come in as a temporary starter and stink it up. One day I hope to find out, and the minute I do, I'm going to make a video about it. It could be 10 years from now. I will find out the answer to why Nick Foles came to the Bears and why the Bears agreed to this trade. One of the worst moves, really, of the Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy era. Next to maybe Kevin White. I mean, there were a couple of others in there, but this was one of the worst. It was a waste of money, waste of draft capital, and most importantly, waste of time. Waste of time for everybody. Fans, media, coaches, GMs, everybody. Waste of time. I'm happy it's over. I'm going to celebrate. I don't know about you, but I will celebrate this move. I'm going to be happy for the rest of the day now that this has happened. My only hope, if there's one thing you could take from this, Ryan Poles mainly, don't trade for a quarterback who obviously is long in the tooth. Common sense, but let's say it out loud because obviously Ryan Pace didn't have that sense. If the Bears ever thought about trading for a quarterback again under Ryan Poles, please, Ryan, if you're watching, don't trade for somebody who obviously does not have it anymore. And even more importantly, don't trade for somebody who had won 6-game stretch and is somehow still surviving in the NFL because of that 6-game stretch. At least, if you're going to trade for somebody who has some sort of track record. Baker Mayfield has more of a track record than Nick Foles. I don't care if that's controversial. Oh, he didn't win a Super Bowl. So what? Baker Mayfield's done more in the NFL overall than Nick Foles. Nick Foles had won 6-game stretch, won a Super Bowl. Fine. What has he done in the years prior to that, and most importantly now, in the years after it? Nothing. Nothing with anybody. Nothing of significance. Look at his numbers. Look at what he's done. The eye test, everything points to Nick Foles being a joke of a quarterback. I'm just happy finally somebody had the balls to say, you're done. Ryan Poles did it. Good for him. Good job by the Bears to finally get rid of this problem. Thanks for watching today's show here at VPOD TV, channel 59.3 in Roku. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can follow me Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. You can watch more of this show. Search up Sports Talk Chicago on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and sportstalkchicago.com. You can watch more shows from the VPOD TV network. Search up VPOD TV on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night right here on VPOT TV. So long, everyone.